Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
I am well. I did not want to work this morning at all. Didn't really want to get up at all. But the walk in the morning routine once again swooped in and saves the day. So I'm ready to go now.
Nice, man. Nicely done. I snoozed for the first time in forever and ever and ever.
Really?
Yeah. And what's funny is I got 10 hours of sleep both nights this weekend. So clearly I've been exhausted.
10 hours of sleep.
Twice, Friday and Saturday night.
Twice.
Mm-hmm.
And still snoozed. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So I will be popping out of bed tomorrow.
So I think I figured out. I just had this is a workaround, but it's working.
Okay.
I need 2 snoozes.
Okay.
For some reason. So instead, I've just been backing up my wake up time by the 2 snooze time because for whatever reason, first wake up John thinks he has earned everything on the planet, including one more snooze. So as opposed to trying to fight that fight, I just let him win a little bit. He gets not just 1 snooze, but 2 snoozes.
Yeah,
and then we got to get up and go to work.
Powerful, John. That's the dark side. That's the Sith Lord, John. Just so balancing the force is good, they say. So that's good.
Yes.
Have some compromise with yourself, and I've always said, I don't care what you do as long as you get the way you want to go. I want the results. Ideally, you want to do it the way you want to do it, and you don't want to kill anybody along the way. But
yes, that is true. Man, so what'd you do over the weekend?
Not a lot. I rested a lot. I did write a little copy for a friend of mine over on a Facebook group. Helped them out a little bit, and then I watched Super Bowl last night, which tears, and then
tears. Why tears?
Because I'm a Chiefs fan.
You're a Chiefs fan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lived in Kansas City for like 7 years, so I
didn't know that. I don't know.
Yeah,
man. When the starter jacket, Apex jacket thing was going on, I had a Kansas City one.
Did you?
And I had the Kansas City Apex one. So like it had the red with like the yellow arrowheads going down. Like it was the gaudiest jacket. But man, I wore the crap out of that thing.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I lived there from 2nd to 8th grade.
Really?
Yeah, I was born here, moved there with Dad. The whole family got transferred for work, and so like in those formidable years, I was a Chiefs and a Royals fan. And then Texas and back to Rangers and Cowboys. So I root for the Cowboys and the Chiefs, and I root for the Rangers and the Royals.
Huh. Okay.
Works out.
Okay. Do you ever rock a Royals hat?
I have in the past, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't currently have one. I haven't seen one I really like recently, but yeah, I will.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
That's a good callback to the hat patrol that we talked about for you. It's like I'm with you. Like if it's a good looking hat, why would I wear it? It's a good looking hat.
I have a St. Louis Cardinals hat because I got to stay there for a night on the way to help Mike move up to Chicago. So yeah, it is in the entourage. Good morning, Michelle. Nice, man. So I've been reading this book over the weekend, High Probability Selling. Good morning, Levi.
Not heard of it.
You have heard of this?
I haven't.
Oh man, It's good. It's really good. Yeah.
So is that what you spent most of your weekend on?
No, I'm about halfway through it, a little bit more than half. Actually, probably 3/4. Now looking at it again. So no, it's a quick read. So most of what I did over the weekend was just play video games. Right, I just raided monasteries.
Nice. I know you did a podcast too, which I'm excited
for. Yeah, Saturday morning, I got up and Quentin had agreed to be part of this experiment that I'm running. Right, so some people have told me that I should have a different kind of show than just sales throwdown. Not canceling sales throwdown because we're not, but something in addition to that. So I've committed to doing a small run, right? Three episodes, and Quentin agreed to be on the first one. So it was funny though, because I brought up the 2 questions he asked me because we were talking about this, and then like as we were wrapping up, he gave me like a really big compliment and blew my mind. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to do the other 2.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
I can't hear it. I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
What do you have today, Bill?
Well, today I've got some planning stuff with Quirk. I've got at 9, and then I've got another. We're trying to do some fun stuff on social around like confessions of a founder and like guard faces and do stuff like that, and just try to do some silly stuff. So we're gonna work on some of that scripting and stuff today. And then I've got some real estate stuff I'm actually going to be spending a little more time in today than normal.
Turn your head that way, the other way.
That way?
No, other way.
What happened?
Is that a splotch? What is that?
Oh, no, I cut myself in the shower.
Oh, God. That's what I, like, that's maybe worse for me as a guy who doesn't shave his head. Like,
yeah, probably.
Like
no,
that's
that was the once every 2 to 3 year, like, actual, like, cussing in the shower when you're like, mother. I actually joked because my mom saw it. I actually went to my parents this weekend to drop off a bunch, some stuff that I borrowed to move, like some dollars and stuff. And I went back down there, and she loves football, so I watched the Super Bowl with her. But she was like, "What did you cut yourself in the shower?" I was like, "Yeah, it hurt so bad. It wasn't just like." Like ouch. It was like I was yelling at someone who did it to me, and like I audibly out loud in the shower go, "Hey, ow!" Like I was yelling at someone. So that's when you know it's bad, when you start speaking third person to yourself. That was fun.
I like how the first version of that story you're cussing and stuff, and then the second one and the one where you're talking to your mom, you're like, I was so mad it was like someone else did it to me. Hey, ow, what are you doing to me?
Yeah. Well, I didn't cuss out loud. I just said, hey, ow. But it was like in such a third person way. In my head, I was cussing myself right afterwards going, what are you doing? Like, you've been doing this so long. How can you do this? So,
Man,
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It just happens.
How long have you been shaving your head?
Oh, gosh. Let me do math this early. At least 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
20s round, maybe more.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
Okay, it's half days old now, though. So I'm on the other side of it now.
Like, I know it's not that bad, but just because I don't do that, it seems way worse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's not bad. So
she has that ouch too, so it's not just me.
She knows.
Well, she knows.
Women shave their legs. They have that whole like. I don't shave. I shave my legs when I swim, but besides that, I don't know how that goes. That looks like it would hurt really bad too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So
I'm not shaving a whole lot of anything right now.
Yeah. Really.
What do you got today?
Yeah, just besides, I've got the planning stuff. I've got the social media stuff I'm working on, and then I have some real estate stuff that I'm spending a dedicated amount of time on today for like the month of February will be like my big chunk of real estate work, and then I'll just kind of work on some of it. So I don't have a massive amount of work. I've got a couple meetings on my schedule. I've got one guy that I met over the weekend, just kind of networking on LinkedIn, actually, because I haven't been spending a lot of time networking on LinkedIn recently. So that's kind of a surprise, but it came about by accident. I wasn't necessarily looking to create one-on-ones, but I've got one of those today with the John Hill special. Where did I meet you? It's 11 o'clock on my schedule. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is
that what you did for real?
Yeah. Like for real. Yeah. And I do refer to that as my John Hill special. Like I'll have a meeting on my calendar and I can't remember where I met them, but I know that they made it to my scheduler. So they must be somebody I want to talk to at some point.
I like how the John Hill special has taken on a new form. It used to be that the John Hill special was, hey, where do I find this? Right? Because I used to hang out with this guy and he would never ask. Like we'd go someplace looking for one thing and we'd go in there and he'd be like, yeah, come on, we're just gonna look around and find it. I'm like, there's 15 people over here who are just like waiting to help us. Let's just ask. Yeah. So the John Hill special for, I don't know, 25 years has been,
okay.
Like I just go up to someone who's wearing a shirt and being like, hey, can you help me find this thing? Because apparently people don't like asking that question.
That's true. I'm glad it's same.
I'm glad that it is taking on a new form of, I'm not sure what we're going to cover in this meeting, but you're here, so it's probably going to be good. What do you want to talk about?
It's like, who is this on my schedule? John Hill special. Yeah, that's funny. I'm the same as you. I'm like, they have a shirt on and they're waiting to help us. Let's just ask them.
Yeah,
totally with you. Yeah,
absolutely. So I have supposed to have a session with Jordan, but he looks like he did not accept. So I might have a little bit extra time this morning. Mm-hmm. A session with Shivam, and then my week is back to normal, which is really, really good because I realized last week was excessive. We needed to get all these people onboarded, and the team was of 6, and so that extra 6 hours on top of the networking, on top of the other stuff I'm doing, was just a lot. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to like a calendar view that I think would still make most people a little bit uncomfortable, but for me, it's kind of back to normal. I need to be super productive this week because Friday I'm going to be in Clubhouse from 9 until 5.
Oh, yes.
All day.
You have a 4-day work week, really?
I do have a 4-day work week, yeah.
Okay. How you feeling about that?
Well, many things, honestly, right? We wrote the copy in a much more probably aggressive way than we have in the past, right? So, one of the rules of marketing, right? If you can't be the first, then create a new one. So we've kind of created this kind of like niche of like, hey, when the relationship matters, you're not going to find anybody who's gonna help make sure that relationship is going to be good between you and your clients and me, right? Mm. There's other people who close more than I do, and that's totally fine, right? They close deals faster than I do, and that's totally fine as well. But like when you know that you're going to have an ongoing relationship with this client, right? And you're going to want to, like, you want that to be as seamless as possible, right? Because if you bring on 5 clients for your agency and 4 of them churn, you really only have 1 client the next month, right? So don't try to bring everybody on. Start saying no to people because the relationship is what's super important, and the relationship is what's going to make your life easy or terrible. So we're kind of putting me out there as the guy who's the best at that, which makes me, I don't like saying that I'm the best at anything because then I'm just waiting for someone to come along who's like this much better than I am, and then I have to go retract the whole thing. But
right. Yeah, well, you don't have to is the good news, is because at the end of the day, all you need to do is convince people that you can solve it for them.
Yeah,
you don't have to be the best. You just have to be the best that they have available to right now.
Yeah, and the thing that I think I've realized is the more creative you are, the more foreign all of this stuff feels to you, right? The qualifying and selling and closing, because a lot of like creative freelancers have never had to sell really anything in the past, right? So they don't think about it the same way that the like battle tested like hundreds of reps salesperson does, right? So they get a little too invested. So this is really, I think that's like the people who I help the most, right? Like the people who are so really great at the creative part of it, but are terrible at the sales part of it, because those are kind of conflicting mindsets sometimes.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice little sub niche, because it's true.
Yeah, like if you're a graphic designer, you're confident that you're going to be able to get something over to a client, but the part that you're not sure about is like how many revisions, what kind of client are they, is your process going to work for them to get what you need to have a good outcome? And like asking those kinds of questions and talking through it up front is going to allow you to really have a better view of who they are, versus, oh yeah, sure, we're going to figure this stuff out later on, or you're going to love my my mock-ups and my logos. So just come on. There's no qualifying in that process, and you're putting more pressure on yourself by committing to things that you have no idea if you can even do or not.
Yeah, and you're not getting buy-in from the other people.
Exactly.
You're just getting, yes, I need help. I guess I'll go.
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of been the focus that this guy Dan, who I've had 2 calls with, has already had like a complete over like the whole thing, right? You know, we spent an hour together, and the next day he sent me a video that was like, "Hey, you just made me an extra $1,250 because of the stuff we talked about yesterday."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Cool. Like, why?" And he's like, "You know, like I've always felt this stuff. I like I see it. I see the planning, and I'm like, oh, this is going to go badly. And I never had the ability to like reach out and address it in a way that made me feel comfortable until we met and chatted." And I was like, "Okay, tell me more." And he's like, this was like supposed to be a 1-day shoot for a nonprofit, and they wanted to have 14 people interviewed on this thing. And so just by our conversation, I was like, "Hey guys, like, are we at all concerned about interviewing 14 people and getting enough good information that we're actually going to be able to use the majority of it?" And they were like, "Well, why?" And he's like, "Well, so far we're talking about a 1-day kind of like shoot process. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get everything done at the quality that you want for a 1-day process. Should we talk about a day and a half?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, we should absolutely talk about a day and a half." Mm-hmm. And he was just like fist pumping, you know? Yeah. And like, to me, it's so funny because like the things that you're just used to, because like he's sharing this story with me, and I'm just like, yeah, 14 people, like there's no way that's going to happen in 1 day. You just ask the question, right? And then they get to make the decision. But to him, it's not ever been something that he's been able to do because he's felt uncomfortable, didn't have the words, didn't have the questions, didn't have the agreements in his own head. But you know, he got another half day on top of the bill just because he felt comfortable like speaking up and asking the question.
Right. Which is fantastic.
It's so important, right? It's so powerful, right? Because now the next time that happens, he's going to feel a little bit more empowered. And then all of a sudden you're in the mindset that I talk about so much with people, right? You have 9 already, you have room for 10, so you have room for 1 more. You're not going to take a bunch of crap off of the person who wants to be the 10th, right? It's got to make sense. It has to be a mutual fit. We have to be able to know that we can crush it for you, because I don't want to bring somebody on and have them churn and then have to go fill that spot. So let's just make sure that we can kill it for you and that you're going to stay.
Right. Yeah, totally. Exactly. That's total mindset, right? Because to think I already have 9, but you only have 2 it can be tough.
Yeah. Right. If you have 9, but you have to have unlimited, right? Everyone who comes through the door, you don't ever have that moment of peace, really, is kind of what it comes down to. But when you have that mindset, right, and largely you can be making it up. It doesn't have to be true, but for your own mind, I have room for 10 and I have 9 and my bills are paid. This next one is gonna be gravy. I don't really need this person, so let's make sure it's effortless, like the easiest, best client we could possibly imagine.
Yeah, you know the type of sales copy or marketing copy, whichever, because it happens both places, that you talk about with that false scarcity.
Oh,
it's like the opposite of what you're talking about, right? I think this is a cool distinction in that you go to the good side first, like you're talking about, and going, this, I can kill it for you in this.
Yeah.
Opposite side of it, it's like there's this air of, I don't know, I mean, you would probably describe it better than me, because it's your kryptonite, kryptonite. Like, it's fake, obviously, but like I said, it's more than that.
It's so funny because I run up to people and they're like, well, if you're not confident, they're not going to be confident. And I'm like, that's true.
Yeah.
But, then I do the chef analogy, right? If you're a chef, if you're a great chef, the best chef in the world, and someone invites you over to their house to cook for their dinner party, and you really want to make it the best dinner party for them, you're going to show up and you're going to ask a bunch of questions.
Yep.
Right? You're going to ask, hey, are there any dietary restrictions? Are there any concerns? What kind of food do you guys like? Is there anything else going on this evening that maybe we should be incorporating into the menu, the plan, everything else for the day? Right. Now, that is when your intention is to give them the best night possible. When your intention is to like show off, then you show up and you might not ask any questions and stuff like this. But which one is going to have the better outcome for the people that you're cooking for?
Yeah.
The first one, where you ask questions. And here's the really fascinating thing. When that chef shows up in front of all 12 of those people who were there for the thing, and he asks, hey, are there any dietary restrictions? No. Okay, thank you very much. What would you guys like to eat tonight? I'm thinking about this and this and this. What do you guys have a preference for? If you go through that process, the chef doesn't look worse. No one is like sitting around the table and like crossing their arms and being like, man, screw this guy. He can't even figure out what he's going to cook us.
Right.
No one thinks that way. Everyone is just like, oh yeah. And if anything, they're getting more wound up. They're getting more excited because of like the conversation about it. And then whenever he goes, okay, I think I have something for you. Let me go to the back and make it. If you guys don't like this thing, could you just let me know? Right? That's selling. Like, it's the same process, right? Like, you don't lose any face by asking questions and not making the assumption. If anything, you build so much more trust and confidence because you're not scared to ask the question.
Yeah, it's so true. We have a caterer that does that exact process, and it's such a good process when we eat with him because he's always like, this is the season we're in, so I've got some choices for us to look over. But first off, dietary. What else are y'all doing? We're in this certain holiday season. Would it be all right if I put this particular ingredient in because it's, it's fall, so we're going to use some pumpkin. How's that sound? Are we good with that, or we want to go without that? Like the whole conversation.
Yes.
And then when you sit down, you're so stoked because you've been part of this like mini story building about your meal, right? And then
I'm doing it as hard as I can without like actually hurting my nose.
Yeah. That's it. It's man, and I know you definitely love to think that, and it's true. That the Kool-Aid is heavy, but like I'm just so Kool-Aided up on story. Like the story is everything. Like people love stories, and if you can put them in a story that they're a part of, it's magical. You see it everywhere in sales and marketing and movies, everywhere.
I think that I think that the story could be the thing that makes you feel okay in the moment, right? Because like let's say that you're that chef, and I've worked for some chefs, and some chefs have got a lot of ego. A lot of ego. Sure. So it would be super easy for that person to show up and be like, you know what, I'm no questions, no requests. You're just gonna eat it and love it.
Yes.
That guy doesn't get invited back unless he crushes it, unless he just smashes it out of the park. Yeah. Just destroys it. Like, and if you want to put that much pressure on yourself, go for it. But the person who does show up asks like a bunch of questions, probably tells a story at the front of it. Hey guys, before I go into the kitchen and start cooking, sometimes I get invited to these things and I make some assumptions, and then I don't make the meal the best that I possibly can. My goal here is to leave you guys with a meal that absolutely blows your mind, and the best way to do that is I got to ask you a couple of questions. Would that be okay?
Right.
No one is like, start cooking.
Yeah.
Nobody on the planet, right? And so same thing happens for your sales conversations. I have no idea if you need what I do or not. The people who I talk to, I've got a very specific set of concerns. Would it be okay if we kind of talk through those? If you're not dealing with any of that stuff, this would be a fairly quick conversation. Do you think that would be okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you dealing with X? Are you dealing with Y? Are you dealing with Z? Are you frustrated with, whatever? But then, like, when they're included, when it's a collaborative effort, everything shifts a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buy-in. But I used to say this in my 10 tips, 10 days is without buy-in, you don't have buy-in.
It's so true. It's so true. I love listening to calls where people are like, man, I killed it on that call. I didn't sell them at all. And I'm like, okay, let's go listen. Right. And then they just like sneak in these little bitty things, like, well, and if you work with us, and we're the best, then it looks like this. And I'm like, that's selling right there. Like that is selling.
It kind of knows doing it too. That's the funny part.
Yeah, no.
It's like,
yeah. It's like a Tourette's twitch or something.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I do it as well sometimes, right? Because like we just like the ego shows up so randomly and small. Even when you're working on this stuff, you still put these little bitty things of bravado and like bragging into your sales conversation. It's so hard to divorce completely from that.
It is. I mean, when you're surrounded with it and you see it all the time, it leaks in there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Happens.
Yeah. I love the chef metaphor. I need to start using that a lot more.
I like it too. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've actually heard it.
Oh, really?
I've heard it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I end up saying a lot of the same stories and using a lot of the same metaphors. So like I just kind of assume at this point everybody's heard all of them.
Yeah.
Can we go back a second? I feel like we missed an opportunity with Jake's shaving injury.
Sorry, Levi, you showed up late to the party. I can't help that, you know.
Jake, you know, I can't help but notice this thing on the side of your head here. You know, it doesn't seem like that happens very often. But if I could show you a tool that kept that from happening, so that way it's like once every 20 years, would that be worth a conversation?
Probably so.
How about a metaphor? Catching yourself off guard with self-inflicting pain during self-care is blank.
Horrifying. Yeah, you're right. There probably is a nice illustration. I think, though, I would have to be in a conversation with a bald man. Really land the plane on that one. Otherwise, it's not an everyday, you know, situation.
If anything, Jake needs to figure out how to take this like shaving story and turn it into a metaphor about how like if his message was stronger, that Nick never would have happened.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I can reverse into that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like later on, there's just gonna be like this like photo of like Jake's head with like this spot.
Yes, follow me on Instagram and stories today. You will see a gruesome picture of my head.
Yes, yes. I was cursing in the shower. This never happens to me. Well, about once a decade. And then I thought about some content, but how my story wasn't tight enough. So then I put together a course.
Swipe up to purchase.
Yeah. And then if you want to be part of the Facebook group, it's $1,000 a month.
That's right. I'm the best.
And so a client of mine is in one of these like bigger agency coaching programs, right? And there's a pretty big name guy who's like the head marketer. There's a head salesperson, and then there's like a head operations person. It sounds very much like what we were talking about doing for Uncompetable. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, the sales guy is not awesome. Like not awesome. I mean, yeah. You know, like it's just reps and practice and trying and stuff. But you know, there's an element of like reading the room that I think comes from like doing the self-awareness that is part of DISC. And I heard so I've seen a guy from this group coach other salespeople, and it was motivational kind of rah stuff for the most part, which goes away, right? If you don't give somebody like some stuff that they can actually implement, then your motivational stuff is only going to last a couple of days.
Yeah, it's like going to a conference and getting hyped up and then going home and everything stays the same. Absolutely,
yeah. You can only walk on Tony Robbins, you know, hot coals, you know, once, but you're going to have to do the work every day. Mm-hmm. And so then the owner of a company who's in this group invited someone else from the group to sell him something. He's like, hey, I want this thing that you want. And then the guy was like, cool, you know, should we schedule a call? They have a call, and I got to hear this call. Whew, man, hype machine? No, it's not hype machine. It's just like he's trying to do the stuff that we talk about doing, right? Asking questions and diagnosing and stuff. But you can just tell that the guy has not done the reps. And so I told Melissa, I said, do you want to hear this? And she goes, what is it? And I was like, honestly, it's someone trying to do what I do very, very badly. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yes. And we listened to like about 5 minutes of it, and she was like, okay, I can't listen to this anymore. And I was like, okay.
He was fine. You just didn't have the natural feel for it.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have his process together, so he's just kind of stumbling around and like not really listening because he's not really present in the call. Okay. So it's just all over the place.
And you can feel that. You don't even have to be a pro to feel that. Just you have to go,
yeah. There's no one who listens to this call and thinks like, man, that was a smooth conversation. Like it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So This group is a $10,000 group for the first 90 days, and then $1,000 a month to be part of the Facebook group afterwards.
Got it. Well,
I am undercharging.
There are a fair amount of people out there now. This, to me, it's the next wave of not bro marketing, but it's kind of like the high price consultant that has now learned from one of the gurus of the gurus.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're a guru of a guru of a guru.
Yeah.
I think that's when this starts really showing up actively, because now you're like 3 layers deep in that coaching tree, as they say. It's rough if the people up top don't do a good job of, like you said, giving them stuff to work on, and then like keeping them in reps, not just because I remember when back years ago when I was at Brother Bouchard stuff, they were doing coaches, and they were selling like high price coaching stuff. But even then, back then, they knew like you had to come to like the weekend, get the training like you would at a conference, and then you had to come back, and then you had to have weekly calls, and then you had to stay in the stuff in the program, because they knew people do this, you know.
Oh yeah.
Stay in the rep.
Yeah. I think we talked about this on here, but a sales coach at a conference was talking about the things don't stop being successful. We stop thinking that we need to do those things to be successful, right? Yes. So then we go and we recreate the wheel, or we try a different way, or we try a new method, you know, and all these marketers have got like their own methods, which are just variations on the theme that they like shove through a branding process or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if it's successful once, it should be successful all the time. Don't adjust it because you think you're better than the process.
Right. Yeah. My very, very first sales coach said, don't get back to the basics, never leave the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a Kung Fu thing there as well, right?
Yep.
Very good first form beats third form.
Yep.
So.
Yep. The basics.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, we need to get some bill bets together this week.
Yes, we do. Yes. I'm going to work on mine today, and then I will have it ready to talk about tomorrow.
Sounds good. I'll do the same.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Levi.
Thank you both. You guys are awesome.
And we'll see y'all tomorrow.